What's up guys, you got Crave here with some tips to get into Tower of Time. Now, this is one of those games that I highly recommend for those who like isometric RPGs. It's quite straightforward, but in case you were looking for suggestions on how to go about the game, then I've got some things for you. So, let's get started. Gear is very much abundant in the game, so you might think that it really isn't necessary to forge or enchant your armor and weapons. That's very true for the first half of the game, for story and easy modes, but as you progress you'll find enhancing your gear becomes a necessity. This is probably a requirement for harder modes. Now, you can loot crystals from different nodes and gain them from combat, but don't forget that you can also dismantle your gear for those crystals. Gear dismantles into the appropriate crystal color. If you find that you have too much greens, then make full use of the transmute feature. Blues and purples are more expensive transmutes, but it's worth it since the strongest forging level requires them, while enchants only use the purple ones. One very important reason to keep getting crystals is that some of the stronger gear in the deeper parts of the tower have negative effects or debuffs. Sure, they can deal a ton of damage and provide good resists, but you can't have too many. Too many of these negative effects, so forging allows you to counter those effects, well, somewhat. This is going to be a quick one, but the scrolls and fountains you encounter in the game provide random buffs and debuffs, so just make sure to save your game before you open them or you click on them. Now, on that, it can be quite tempting to favor one of your characters for these potential benefits, but don't do that. I did that, I focused on Kain, and I sort of regret that somewhere when I was 3/4 into the game. There are sections of the game that will require you to have a good spread of power among your 7 controlled characters. It won't happen often, but you might get frustrated that you didn't enhance or properly gear all of them. So think about it before applying the benefit you could possibly gain. It's in the loading screen tips, but it's very true. Gold is very important for upgrading your city structures and training your characters. As mentioned, don't be tempted just to focus on your favorite 4 classes. So make sure to upgrade your structures, or you have enough gold to upgrade your structures, and then plan out which classes you want to train to gain those points at a given time. Keep in mind that for the basic stats, reaching a value of 10 at base gives you certain permanent enhancements like resistance to elements. That would, for example, be very useful to a tanky character like Kain. On the subject of gold, make sure you engage all the fights you can handle to get more of it. Don't just rely on the random gold piles you see on the floor. If you have time, engaging the challenge modes is another way to help you get this resource. It's a mechanic of the game, so I suggest taking advantage of it. Whenever you start fights, immediately look for areas that allow for line of sight abuse. Not all arenas have them, but when you get there or when it's there, it's really going to be a relief for tougher combat situations. Typical line of sight entry points, make sure that a tanky character like Kain stays there and is basically ready to take the brunt of the damage. You can also summon an End or slow them down via Eric's Ice Cloud effect. While the front lines keep them busy, let your casters like the Shadow Queen rain death and destruction at the entry point. Let Rakim's Firestorm flood the area. You can also drop Whisper's AoE tower effect behind the wall so that it makes it harder for the mobs to reach it. Just make sure that Kain or a similar character is ready to steal threat or aggro when your casters do so much damage that, the mobs take notice. That's basically Kain's dash ability or taunt ability. Boron also has similar skills, so keep those in mind. While it might seem that your abilities and attributes are the things to focus on when building your characters, the other stats are also really useful. For example, resistances aren't just important for a character like Kain or Boron. Everyone in the party basically needs it, especially as you go deeper in the tower or if you game in higher difficulties. Some mobs in the game can deal ridiculous amounts of damage. You'll find that by simply upping your resistance to some element or by increasing your average value, your character can avoid losing half or a third of their health bar just because of a simple ranged magical attack. On the damage side, penetration values are very important. You'll find that the same spell or ability can deal much more damage provided your armor or magic penetration values are pretty high. In the case of Whispers, you'll find Magic Pen to be of great use. The other stats are also useful, so for example, movement speed might not seem as important, but for a tank to save a squishy, it's really helpful if your movement skills are on cooldown. Movement speed is also important for characters like Eric or Maev, as well, they there are situations where they will be targeted by red AoE effects. So basically, if Maev's skill is on cooldown, her smoke screen or sort of like your teleport ability is on cooldown, then movement speed is the only thing you have. Basically, what I'm saying is enhance your stats and not just your attributes and skills. And that's it. Those are my 5 tips to help you get into tower time. Now, I know there are a lot of other things to consider, but these are the 5 ones that I feel that would be most useful, as they were very, very useful for me. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.